Hello, Nick here. Today I wanted to talk about 10 myths in OCD recovery. And this is kind of go over a bunch of different topics, some of them involving mindset, some of them involving what worked for me and what we see that doesn't work, what the research recommends, and so forth. So usually I don't have anything written down, but because this video has 10 things written down, every once in a while I will be looking over here. So number one, and by the way, these aren't in any specific order, and these are from basically my experiences as anyone who's watched my videos suffering from somatic OCD. Number one, OCD recovery is not possible / OCD recovery is just dealing with anxiety forever. So that is not OCD recovery, and that would just be called OCD dealing with anxiety forever. So OCD recovery from the people who have recovered is absence of obsessions and absence of chronic anxiety. It's not to say that you're never going to have intrusive thoughts again, because you will. There's a lot of different studies showing that even people with no mental health have lots of intrusive thoughts. Up to 80% have unwanted intrusive thoughts. So to think that you're never going to have intrusive thoughts again isn't the most rational or logical thing, but you will not have them in a chronic format. And that is the real definition of OCD recovery. Number two, this is a big one. Being neat and organized means that you have OCD. We have normalized OCD and forgot that there is a D in OCD. And OCDUK.org defines that D in black writing so people understand that this is a disorder. Okay, and the definition of a disorder to the Oxford Dictionary is something that affects your life or your quality of life more than 1 to 2 hours a day, and usually comes down to burden of income and quality of life between Oxford Dictionary and the World Health Organization characteristics for this defining OCD. So a lot of people misconception will say, I probably did it before I started chronically suffering. I'm OCD about that. Or I've showed people my closet because I like things to be organized. Oh man, you're real OCD. But they don't understand. And that's completely okay. And the only thing we can do is try and educate them. And if they don't want to listen, no problem with that whatsoever. Okay. Number three, some reassurance is okay. Definitely not true. Nobody agrees on this at all. Excuse me, therapists, coaches, people with OCD alike who have seen major progress. I know in the moment it seems like it's the right thing. You're having a panic attack and you say, well, just a little bit of reassurance here. That's like saying to a drug addict, a little bit of the drug that you're addicted to right now because you're feeling really bad is okay, but the rest of the time it's not okay. It doesn't quite work like that. Reassurance has been something that we've grown up with throughout our whole lives. Parents reassuring kids, and this is another topic because it's hard to be like, how are you supposed to tell a 5-year-old that has no context on life that, hey, look, fairness and deservingness are more than likely not real. There's no universal law, and we don't know what's going to happen to you in life. You can only set yourself up for the best probable chances. 5-year-old say to you, give me my food. They just want to hear that everything's going to be okay. But when this is conditioned since birth, this becomes problematic, and why we have a society that's all fueled by these irrational beliefs based around fairness and deservingness. So it's a super multifactorial concept that's not just going to be fixed in one day. Number four, you can snap out of OCD. Who heard that one a lot? People just think that, just think about something else. If it was that easy, again, it wouldn't be a disorder. So you can't just snap out of OCD. OCD recovery takes a lot of hard work, persistent dedication, going through ups and downs and lots of learning along the way. It's almost like you're learning a whole entire new language, the language of uncertainty and rational thinking. This is not easy. I haven't had it easy by any means, but it's been a gigantic learning experience, and only working on recovery for 7 months has totally changed, this on my dog in the background, totally changed my whole entire outlook on life. Number five, thoughts, and this is a very particular one. Thoughts are thoughts cuts it for almost everyone. Leaving thoughts there, thoughts are thoughts. This has been recommended in many books and by many different people for years and years and years. It's not to say that this cannot be important further down in the recovery process when you have a better understanding or grasp on unconditional other self and life acceptance, moving with uncertainty and doing exposures. Whatever your specific fears are, some people need more exposure, some people more uncertainty, and so on and so forth. but moving towards them in a fashion that leaving, thoughts are thoughts doesn't quite cut it for the severe sufferers, because your brain will always say to you, well, what if it is real? So moving with uncertainty, unconditional self-life, and other acceptance from the teachings of Dr. Albert Ellis are really, really a good way to get underneath those deep fears, especially if they've been locked for a very, very long time. Number 6, treatment resistant. Absolutely not real and completely false. From my experience with that, people, when I was induced into the mental hospital, I thought I was completely treatment resistant. You have people that say whatever therapies you want to use, they don't work for you. Everyone's OCD recovery journey is going to be different. Some people's are going to be longer. Some people are going to recover quicker. Some people might take 5 years to fully recover, but really you have no choice. You have to go through with recovery, because if you don't go through, you're basically going to be stuck for the rest of your life, and it's never really going to get better. And that's another one I didn't add on here, that OCD will just go away on its own. As Rob didn't mention in the post, I believe yesterday, that OCD will not go away on its own, and that's completely okay. So treatment resistant, more than likely not real. People just don't have the tools for their specific fears to get underneath it. Excuse me. Number 7, people need to understand your disorder. Whoo, man, does this go into the reassurance category? I understand when you're really, really, really suffering, you think in your mind that if they just understand me, if my family just understood me, this will be so much better. Not really, because your beliefs of you thinking that they'll understand will help you doesn't have any scientific background whatsoever. If your mom doesn't believe that you have OCD, how will that affect your life is minimal, but in our minds at the moment, we think we want that reassurance. This is why not reassuring is one of the most important things. Reassurance is the drug to an OCD sufferer. We look for certainty, and it's never, ever helpful. Even if you think it, it's just a false premise. Number 8, another big one. OCD recovery is linear. If you don't know what linear means, I've done this in lots of my videos. Let's say down here, this is OCD recovery. This is suffering. I'm just going to do it like this. So like that, okay? Straight line, bad, good, okay? This is not real. You might recover like this if you have 0.5 out of 10 OCD. But I don't know anyone that I talk to that their OCD even goes like this, their OCD goes like that. So your worst moments can be followed by your best days and vice versa. Rob talks about this a lot. Some of my absolute worst moments were fueled by I had a really tough morning, but that isn't the way I am right now. So recovery is all over the place, and it's a learning process. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make is, and understandably so, is they don't have a lot of compassion for themselves. And they go really, 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 really hard on themselves. And when they mess up, they go black and white like we tend to do because we want certainty. So giving yourself compassion, because the journey is not linear and it can take a very long time, that's very, very important. So having compassion and empathy for yourself. Number 9, being around OCD and talking about it will bring back OCD. That is just fear of fear, and rightfully so. Once you start getting better in your mind, you say, oh man, I can't be around OCD. I got to get away from it. I got to recover and be free. No more OCD talk for me. That is a recipe for disaster. You are setting yourself up for a new fear, the fear of being around OCD. And that can turn into a big fear, lots of different avoidance compulsions. You don't want to talk to people. Oh, this person, no, I can't talk to him. No, my mind's clear. So if this was true, people like Rob or other people who have recovered would not be helping other people with OCD. You see what I'm saying? It's just another false illusion in our mind that we think, can't be around it, I'm going to relapse, but that's just fear of fear. Okay, number 10, and I starred this one because it's still talked about in some of the biggest organization websites on earth. Convincing yourself you'd never act out your thoughts. In quotations, you are not your thoughts. Usually the people with the severe OCD are the least likely people to commit these acts. Man, is that anything but true. That is reassurance in its basic primal form. Not me. I wouldn't do that. OCD. But what if you would? No, but I won't. Are you sure? I think I'm sure. I think you're gonna do it. Oh man, maybe I'm right. Maybe I will do it. I told you you're gonna do it. Man, I am gonna do it. So no matter how much you tell yourself that you're not gonna do it and you're not the type of person, that is going to set you up for a slippery slope, my friends. This is why we move towards unconditional self-other life acceptance and uncertainty. Even if you did something terrible, it would not write you off as a human. It's just something you have to work towards, depending on what your particular fears are. And I have a bonus one, number 11, thanks to my wife down there. She said, how about you talk about every case of OCD is the same? Boom, that is a big one. Even on these major foundation websites, they talk about the very typical obsessive and compulsive behaviors, compulsions being washing, checking, repeating, physically and mentally in the big ones, but there's a lot of ones they don't talk about, little hidden ones that a lot of us have. And they talk about reassurance, but they don't talk about the types of reassurance, so it can really leave people feeling alone. These organizations do so many great things. I'm so thankful for OCDUK.org. I'm so thankful for the International OCD Foundation. Thank you so much. They were actually sufferers who got together in, I believe, 1986 and said to themselves, man, let's get together and make a foundation. I'm actually doing a history video on OCD coming up in the next week, which will be really cool. So there are many different types of fears. OCD can latch to anything. Somatic OCD, what I have had OCD specialists ask me specifically, OCD specialists, masters in psychology, they just didn't understand. That's completely okay. Somatic, what do you mean you're obsessed with your saliva? What is that? Oh boy. How is this person going to help me when they don't even know what I got? That's like going to see a neurologist and saying, I have a brain tumor. And they say to you, what's that? I've never heard of that before. You're just like, oh, this person can't help me. So it's growing. The OCD awareness is growing. The realization that there's a lot of different subcategories of fears. Themes, whatever you want to call it, is just a fear. OCD latches to what you care about and what you're afraid of losing and so forth, or afraid of dealing with forever. That is the mechanism of how OCD works. So those are my top 10. I think they're really, really important. There's a bunch of other little ones too, but I think these ones are probably the most important. The reason why I made number 1, OCD recovery is not possible as a myth, is because there are still a lot of people that believe that dealing with symptoms forever is OCD recovery, when we know that's not true. And this is very new information. I mean, guys, think about it, and I'm going to talk about this in the history video, but think about having OCD before 1990. Whoa. That thousands of years of OCD sufferers suffering in silence and who knows what, because they had no form of care. And all the form of care was reassurance, because they didn't know at the time, and so on and so forth. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making this video. I've been thinking about this for probably 4 or 5 days now, because I really wanted to be perspective driven about how I delivered my information. Should I deliver this information in this way? I don't want to, it's a hard topic. Guys, OCD suffering is not easy, but we have the tools to recover. And there's a lot of false information out there, but there's a lot of great information out there and a lot of people willing to help you. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a terrific day.